Good. Sağ ol.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You hear it? Yeah.
All right, here we go.
We have a lot of success with this girl. They don't work online. They don't have to mess with it. So I
Yeah, all the ads.
I want to interrupt your breakfast. What's up? Yeah, I know, right? I just left it all that good today. The correlation to my hair and protein business is positive. Tattoos made it might be but I haven't.
You have to take care of this. Just start to charge it whenever it's possible.
It's half full, so it should be fine. 5 hours.
Always
Is it? I don't know. You can use this one.
Can we charge it while using it?
Cable is only.
right.
Ich bleib das jetzt vorne stehen, weil die da
Okay.
Nice. Kannst mal.
Yeah, I can say that. So you could also just say, essentially, I'm over here, she's over here. Everybody, you know, different combinations.
Yeah. Was ist das?
Yeah. I kind of want to go to the light at some point. I know. All right, guys. All right. How was the party last night?
Woo!
Anything get weird?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You're here this morning, so that's good. Today's theme, it's short but sweet, is let your hair down. We're just gonna have fun. Sorry, I said it, Mike, I'm sorry. I'm not picking on you. It's just a theme. We're gonna hear from the division of Kroger again. We'll be talking about retail recovery, what's going on with inflation, some great case studies. Weather Channel is gonna be up here, so really good stuff. Shorter day, obviously, but give it up for your fearless leader of the LBMA and see if he's gonna start something. Thank you, sir. All right. So, yeah, it was a good night last night, and how many of you were up with the band last night? Yes? Did we like the band?
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, all right. It's a good time. So if you missed it, sorry. I mean, you should have been there. Now, it's let your hair down day, according to Kevin. But, and he asked if there was anything weird last night. So there was something weird. I'm not going to name names, but if you were there, you know. So somebody, at dinner last night, brought out a bottle of cologne. And I was just like, and it was offering, little spritzes of this. And I'm like, that's new. That's new on me, And then I'm like, because I said yesterday, what's old is new again. He's like, I don't, right? I mean, it's, maybe back in the, late 80s, early 90s, my mom would give me a bottle of Dracar Noir. So we were threatening this morning to replace the sanitizer dispensers with cologne and see if anybody would notice. But anyhow, we're not going to do that. So welcome back to day 2. It's great to be here. And as I usually do, for those of you who know me, I have another video just to get people pumped up and so on. So another interesting project that came across this year during COVID. And this is a project of mashup of MasterCard and Waze in Romania, and doing some pretty cool things to bring traffic to some retail vendors of a different kind. So check this out.
Buongiorno Peter, convergească acum poliția pe Waze, așa să mă vedeți de acum acolo pe mine.
Producătorii agricoli vor fi semnalizați pe Waze
Prin un dispozitiv POS.
până să gândească autoritățile cu un sistem de ajutor, sprijinul vine de la Mastercard și aplicația Waze.
Vedem această pictogramă și o găsim pe doamna Chinuța.
Vii mai seamănă cu mine?
Da, e cea mai frumoasă.
să le dau și iau banii.
So I thought that was pretty cool, and like the thing I really loved about it is in COVID, sort of like finding new ways to discover business, but small business. I mean, we often like in these rooms talk so much about big agencies and big brands and how we're working with them, but like a local farmer and driving traffic to their little stand on the side of the street, and how we can still apply the same technology to do that. So good morning, welcome to day 2. We've got a great lineup for you this morning. We're starting with our opening keynote with Krista, and her colleague Will's going to join as well from the Weather Channel. And then we're going to jump into a panel discussion moderated by my colleague Karsten about kind of what's going on in the LBMA internationally. So we'll hear a little bit from the German perspective, from the Japanese contingent that's here on some of the differences in retail and how technology is happening there. And then I'm going to moderate a panel discussion on customer experience, and we've got some great speakers lined up there from 8451, Kroger's Lab, from Pfizer, and Nick from Radar will be joining us for that as well. And then we'll close out the day after the coffee break with I'm going to do actually a short session because my investors complained yesterday that my startup ground level insights didn't get any playtime. So I'm going to give you a few slides on that. So I'm going to just interject that after the coffee break, just 4 or 5 quick slides. And then we'll close out with a case study from all of America at wait time. So great morning ahead. Get all your questions ready, and I'm going to turn it over to the channel. I have to flip the middle button up.
Sie muss das Ding heute nicht tun.
Hello.
Okay. All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
While we're getting this ready, thanks for sharing that video. I found that to be super inspiring. I like it when 2 brands come together to actually elevate each other and do good for the world. So I felt energized. I felt really pumped up. But thanks for starting your morning with us. Thank you. This morning, if everyone's feeling rested after last night, we're here this morning just to talk a little bit about real-time data, right? Real-time data, which for us is weather, it's location, inherently real-time in both of those instances. Before we get started, we'll do a quick introduction, and then we'll go ahead and jump in. My name is Krista Raskin-Olescu, and I lead the consumer product team here for the Weather Channel.
Yeah, and I'm Will Span, so I lead media solutions for IBM Watson Advertising.
Great. So we are owned by IBM. Both of us here representing IBM, but the Weather Channel and IBM Watson Media and Advertising. Let me ask you a question, Will. We named our talk this morning a marriage for the ages, and we're going to talk a little bit about how this real-time data, together with product, and then bringing marketers in, are creating really amazing and compelling customer experiences. That's what we're here to kind of share, what we are doing. But let me ask you, you're married. Okay. What do you think makes a successful marriage? What makes your marriage successful?
I wouldn't say I'm the expert, but I would say that it takes trust, collaboration, leaning on each other.
Great. Okay. Well, we're hoping to actually pull those threads through today and show you how that same thing is coming through when we think about developing products for the market. So let's go ahead and jump in. See if I can learn how to work this. Nope. Okay, hold on a second. Right into that. I broke it. Okay. All right, I'll stand on this side. Thanks. All right. We'll go ahead and we'll start with a little bit of an overview of the Weather Channel. Okay. We are actually America's most accurate forecaster. We're the world's most accurate forecaster. That's been determined by an independent third party in Forecast Watch. who studies hundreds of forecast data points every single day in thousands of locations around the world, and then measures all of the different weather providers for accuracy. We've been named the world's most accurate forecaster many years in a row. I'm super proud of that. We are also one of America's top trusted brands. This year we earned spot 8 on the top 10 list, but we've been in America's top 10 most trusted brands for several years running as well. Something else we're very proud of. And then the World Meteorological Organization, that's a lot to say so early in the morning, has given us in the past 2020 the International Weather App Award, something else that we're really proud of, being recognized by the world's leader in the science for having such a strong product in the market. So that's a little bit about our brand, and it'll give you a bit of a context as we pull through that thread around trust, around collaboration. But before we move further, I want to make sure that they at least get an overview too of what advertising.
Right, and this is how IBM comes into the picture. So Krista mentioned we are a publisher and a media property deep to our roots. But in 2016, IBM came along and acquired the weather company. So we started, this gave us a new focus on innovation and AI, and that is what entered IBM Watson Advertising. So it's a suite of ad tech solutions and ad products that can augment the human mind so that we can think ahead and predict the right outcomes and optimize in real time. So we can get more into the ad products and show you kind of the magic behind those in a little bit, but first let's go through a couple examples on the consumer side of the house, which we're still closely tied to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are a marketing-driven business, right? We make our money out of advertising. We make our money by partnering with marketers to bring the right message to the right person. So because we are the leader in weather, wrong direction. Okay. Because we are the leaders in weather, and because we have such trust, we are on 2.5 billion devices worldwide. Through our consumer brands, weather.com, the Weather Channel, Storm Radar, Weather Underground, we reach over 400 million people every single month. Half of those are in the United States. And when we say we're a daily habit, we really mean it. On apps, we average 31 visits per visitor, per app user a month. And what we know about our app users is that they start their day with us. Start the day before they even hit news, email, social media. They start their day with weather. There's something inherently important in weather, the location, what's about to happen, very real time, very, very applicable to all of us. After all, we know that weather impacts all of us in this room, right? Every single one of us has been impacted by weather pretty much every single day. You probably look at it this morning to figure out how long your commute might take, what you should wear. Many people actually use it to figure out, is it gonna rain? How long? When will it stop? What might the intensity be? How should I pack for my trip? We know that there's a correlation between weather and how you feel. So do you use it to plan for whether or not today will give you an increased risk of a migraine? It impacts pulmonary health and our breathing ability. It impacts how we feel, with allergies and stuff like that, which it's Atlanta, it's fall. I definitely feel the allergies right now. And so we know this is true, right? We know this is super true. And so if we're going to build solutions that really help answer our users' needs, we have to think about a couple of things. Okay, we feel it's really important, our brand, that we focus on build solutions that help drive decisioning, decisive decision making. And we really want to make sure that our products help you live healthier and happier and safer and smarter. So we do this by processing data in real time. Over 400 terabytes of data every single day we process. We serve tens of billions of API calls, inputs from various data sources, government, proprietary, from sensors. We apply AI on top of most of this. And then we have the expertise of over 100 meteorologists constantly in this mix, pumping out our forecasts, our predictions, our recommendations. Real time, I mean it. We process a lot of this every 5 minutes. around the world. Some of this every 15, some of this every hour, but we are processing constantly, looking at data and taking a look at how that brings what we bring forward into our product sets. So we think that by doing this, we really can enable you to live healthier, safer, happier, smarter. But we have to go a level deeper than that. What goes into a product that actually makes that happen? When we think about a formula, we think about a formula of what, why, what's next. Our best products in market fulfill on this formula. They actually use this formula. The what is going to happen? What can I anticipate? What might the impact be? Then we try to bring forth the why. What is the underlying scientific explanation for why that might be what you're going to experience? And then finally, where we can, the recommendation, what should you do about it? What should you do about it? So we try to work this into most of what we build, most of what we launch. But what happens when weather data alone, when our alerts, when our radar maps, when the expertise of our weather scientists or meteorologists, what happens when that alone can't fulfill on this full equation, this formula? Well, for us, that's where we find this marriage comes in. So we actually partner in many instances with leaders in adjacent fields. And these leaders, they're experts in adjacent fields. They're brands that many of us know and love. But together, when we work together, we can actually fill the gap. We can fill the gap in that formula. And together, we can lend credibility to the why and the recommendations. We have a couple of examples we're about to share with you, but what I can say, similar to what we saw right here with MasterCard and Waze, is when we choose the right partner, both of our brands actually get elevated in the process. And so that's beneficial to us from a business perspective, right? From a business perspective. There has many, many benefits for our customers and our users as well. So let's get started. I'll show you a couple of consumer examples. Let's start with how we keep our users healthy. So we've got a big research arm in the Weather Channel. We've done a lot of proprietary research. We know that 84% of people who check the weather are actually using weather to help manage one or more health conditions. Now, this could be a health condition that maybe you suffer from or that somebody you're caring for suffers from. But we know either way that that correlation is there and it's strong in our users' minds. So we set forth to study this. Is the correlation actually true? We brought our scientists to the table. We brought medical experts to the table, again, marrying people who are experts in adjacent fields to come together. And we've looked at a lot of things. We've looked at weather's impact on your risk of catching the flu, on how bad your allergy symptoms might be, whether or not migraine risk is higher today, and so on and so forth. We've done a lot of studying. We know a lot of this data by now. And so I'm going to show you one of these examples. Let's take a look at whether or not you're at risk for catching the flu. So when we think about building this product, what we think about is coming from the user's perspective. Am I at risk? What are the flu levels right now? Are they on the rise in my area? Maybe they're actually pretty low for my area. And we think through that user's lens, right, through their eyes. So what you'll see here in this image is you'll see an AI-powered prediction. This is the first AI-powered prediction of its kind that can predict whether or not your risk of catching the flu is increased for your area. So that's the what. We can tell you what, whether or not your risk is high, whether it's moderate, whether it's low. And then just below that, you'll see this area that says 60% low humidity. If you were to swipe through that, that's the reasoning. That is actually what is leading to this prediction. There is weather-backed information that we can bring forth to explain to you why it is the way it is. There's the what, there's the why. Now there are partners behind that why. Right? We've worked with CDC, we validated our models, our predictive models against historical CDC data. We know we've got an R value of 0.88, which we're proud of that too. And so we've got those two covered. Well, what are you going to do about it? Right? So imagine that this actually said that your risk of catching the flu right now was high or very high. What are you going to do about it? Well, we are not medical experts. And so we partner with brands who are. Now you can see here the what coming through really, really clearly. How do I protect myself and my family? How do I actually prepare to make sure that I can stay safe and healthy? Where do I get a flu shot? On the left here, you can see super clear call to action. Here is where you get your flu shots. Go ahead and schedule your flu shot now. One touch, in context with what the user is thinking. But furthermore, maybe you already have your flu shot, maybe you don't want to get a flu shot, you want a little bit more information. Now, if you look at the right, we've actually got flu prevention tips. Now, these tips here, they're super easy. They're things like wash your hands, get a good night's sleep, eat, a balanced, healthy diet, all of these things, super, super easy. But this is really meaningful in the moment. What we know about those flu prevention tips is over 15% of all of our visits to this product interact with those flu prevention tips. So it's a really, really important part of what we do. I think we just tried to illustrate here what, why, what's next, right? What can you do to protect yourself in this instance? So I'm gonna pause for a second though. Will, you represent our advertising side of the business and these marketers, so want to add anything?
What I was going to say about CVS specifically, this is a great partnership. We grew the partnership year over year, of course, and then hit these KPIs like the 15% engagement. But it's also interesting what they were saying about it in market. There was a specific quote, I believe it was from Engadget, that was saying this is a real world use of AI that could actually help someone with their quality of life, which I thought was really great. And also there were some awards won for these executions from the IAC and the Reggies. So all of this is great in this overall marriage with the brand CVS.
Yeah, and CVS is very happy, like you said.
Yeah.
We just continue this partnership. We have been partners for several years running now because it's working. It works for our users. It works for CVS's customers. It works for both our brands. Again, based on real-time data, what is happening in your area and what you need to do about it. So let's take a look at another one though. We're not only about helping keep you healthy, we're also about keeping you safe. Now this is actually our brand promise. One of the reasons why we got into business in the first place is because we want to help people stay safe. We want to save lives, right? So when we think about safety, when we think about inclement weather, there's all sorts of stuff from pop-up thunderstorms and whatnot, but then there's the more extreme side of things too. Kind of the extreme side of things like hurricanes and tornadoes, stuff like that. So this is an example of how we actually keep users safe. Imagine that you live in Florida. If you're on the coast of Florida, and there is a hurricane that is actually coming your direction. We think about a story arc when we think of severe, right? So there's the moment in time where you're leading up to the event. The event is known. It's going to happen. So that's the preparation phase. And there's the point in time in which it's actually happening. Okay, that's the moment of impact. And then, while the storm's actually going on, and there's the actual downswing here, which we consider recovery. All of these moments, really important. Now you think about this preparation phase, and maybe it's not real time, like it's going to happen right this second. But guess what? There are decisions that you need to make in real time to prepare for the future event. Okay? So now we're thinking about, hey, am I in harm's way? What should I expect that may actually happen? And then what do I have to do to prepare? So here you can see we've got this is when our product suite is the best. This is when we are at our best. We've got alerts, we've got widgets, we've got tracker maps, we've got real-time analyst and expert opinions coming at you to help you plan and to help you prepare. We break down and we explain the atmospheric science and the things that actually could tip the scales one direction or another, could move that hurricane cone a little to the east, a little to the west, could change the intensity of the storm. So all of that, we've got the what, we've got the why. But in this instance, what do you do about it? We're not home builders. We're not people who understand the best way to make sure that your home is protected and safe, that your family is protected and safe. So we partner with State Farm. And what you can see here is chatbot execution. Don't kill me, Will, I know that's not what we refer to it. But chatbot execution, where a person can sit down and actually talk to somebody digitally about what to do, how to prepare. So think about the person in this moment. They're a little nervous, they're a little scared. We have now connected that dot. We don't say, here's what's going to happen and make you go search on your own for how you get those tips. We bring those tips right to you. We bring a moment for you to ask those questions straight to you. Now the storm is actually happening. We're in the middle of it. How strong are things? What's actually happening on the ground? How long is this going to last? Is what people are kind of considering, what they're thinking about. Again, our product set really kind of shines through here. Same types of things coming at you: alerts, expert coverage, news from the ground. We've got all that covered. Again, sort of break down why it is slowing, intensifying, whatever the conditions are. We break that down with our experts. But again, what now? What now? One of the most important things that we know from like hurricanes, flooding, from all this sort of stuff is don't shelter in your attic, right? Like there's a lot of things in the moment that our users need to know to stay safe. So again, State Farm to the table with us. You can see them right here on the right-hand side. At the bottom, they've got the small banner. But again, if you were to tap on that, you can be chatting in real time to make sure that you're getting safety tips that you need for that moment of time. So before I move on, because I'm going to show you the recovery piece as well, you want to add anything from State Farm side?
Sure. For State Farm, as Krista mentioned, you could tap this experience and it's not driving you through to statefarm.com like you would normally see. It's bringing you to this chat bot, and that's, if there are no Watson devs in this room, so I'm safe to say that, I think, but it's more than just a chat bot. We can only tell so much of the story though. We can only tell the weather side of it. If a user were to ask the question in real time about like, what does the storm warning mean? We can help with that. But we have to build this corpus of data that we work with the client on. And that would be things like, how do I prepare for this storm? How do I endure this storm? What can I do in recovery mode? So it's this experimentation and how we're tight knit with the client that brings all of this to life.
Yep, and we're very fortunate to have a brand like State Farm at the table with us again for several years running. We feel that it amplifies again both of our brands. So now the storm is past, we're in recovery mode, and we're thinking about the damage that's been done, right? We're covering that sort of thing. We're thinking about if you need help, how do we get help to you? How do we get resources to you that could help you in recovery? And maybe you're not needing help yourself, but you're able to give help to somebody else. So we bring that forward too. This is one of the ones that this gives me like the warm fuzzies. You can see here this big, beautiful unit that's Red Cross, and how we're bringing Red Cross through to say, if you are in a position where you can give help, here's how you can do it. Super easy, one click, we're done. Our users over the years have given hundreds of thousands of dollars to Red Cross in moments like this where we can actually help. So again, we're really proud of that. So these are just a couple of consumer examples of how we think about the power of data and bringing marketers along with us. I do think they actually illustrate just a beautiful, easy integration between the two that make a lot of sense, that feel very natural, and they've been very successful for us in the past. I'm going to stop talking for a second. I'm going to hand it to Will, who's going to take it a step further, because what we also do is we extend what we've got here, the type of collaboration and moment that we can create with data and a marketer, we extend it off property. So Will's going to take you through that.
Yeah, we can. And I think this is a good slide to kind of transition to what we're going to talk about for off property. And this, what we just did for Hurricane Ian, this execution you're seeing here is an integrated marquee, we call it. So there's a lot of tech behind this. It's an ad, but it's not serving you a standard ad side. We're passing the background to the app itself. So you could imagine there's lots of implications there with serving. But in this case, working really closely with the Red Cross, our marketing, our Christmas consumer team, it's really an amazing thing when these storms happen. It's one of the things that keeps you passionate about weather and about IBM Watson advertising is being in that moment. I mean, our mission is to help keep users safe. So we're able to do that, and it's amazing to see all of the company come together and be on these multi-day calls, working through like, what can we do to help our users? And in this case, this was an afterthought at the end of the storm. How can we get awareness out there about users helping by donating? And so this is what we came up with and whipped up in about a day. But we can't tell our sales team we whipped that up.
Or can we?
Right. So that's a good transition to helping our users make the most of every day. So what we're doing, we've been talking about the consumer product, but now we're going to get into a little bit more of the ad tech solutions and what we're doing at IBM Watson advertising to extend that. So what you'll see here, sorry, I just switched. This is how we empower our brands to help consumers. So you can see a suite of products here. All of these live on property. So we're still, IBM Watson Advertising, still tightly tied to the properties. And it's not always in times of like when a user needs information about health or when we have a severe event happening. This is what we call like sunny days, even though all of these executions aren't sunny. It's what happens whenever we are not in some type of critical moment like that. How do we still partner with our brands to bring executions like this to life to help drive? So with IBM Watson Advertising, this is kind of the 4 pillars of the tech, where it is predictive, so we can help understand and anticipate future outcomes. Then it is relevant for the user. We all know that contextual relevance is huge in the advertising space, especially in this new world where, for the next point, privacy first, like we have to do a lot of this stuff without identifiers, and then making sure that it is accessible for our users. So let's talk about weather for a second. Krista told you a lot about weather, but we can get a little bit more into some of the science behind this. So 63 degrees at temperature is much different depending on where you are, your relative location, like where you are relatively to in this location. So like in this case, we have someone in Miami is experiencing 63 and sunny conditions. It's going to drive them to warm, comforting beverages. But in Miami, beer sales spike whenever we have the same exact conditions. So we've been serving weather triggers for many, many years, even before IBM. But what the introduction of IBM Watson Advertising helped us put machine learning behind this and data science so that we could look at things historically and in the present to help us predict for the future and activate really effective campaigns for advertisers. So this is kind of, when you think about that 63 degrees, that's an absolute condition. And what we're trying to do is look deeper than just that. So you can see kind of these mixes that we come up with here. There's a condition mix that goes with that 63 degrees and with that absolute condition. And also seasonality of where the user is, where they're physically located, what time of day it is, what time of year it is. Oh, and by the way, the absolute condition itself. So it's this condition mix that really helps us to build these really strong triggers that we're not only serving the ads for, but also pulling in directly to the creative. So we can make decisions on all of these things in the creative itself at runtime after it serves.
Very contextual.
Right, and then, so yeah, and then overall, just to kind of sum up what we're doing on the AI side or on the Watson Advertising side, this AI is used to reveal insights, and then the insights are defining these triggers, but it's not the triggers that you would normally think of when you're thinking of serving ads. It's also what we can get into the creative. And then the triggers drive the outcomes, the performance and the lift in performance and how the performance can grow over time and partnering with our brands. So, and this is kind of how we think about weather at a high level with IBM Watson Advertising. The relative conditions, I mentioned that, it's not an absolute temperature. It's more about like how the weather makes you feel, what mindset is the user in. And then there are activity triggers. So we can serve things based on like outdoor activity or is there inclement driving conditions on my path or my journey, whatever the user might be experiencing. The product triggers, we work directly with like sales data from clients to build product triggers. Like I'll show you an example of in a second. And then health and wellness. This one is particularly interesting because the existing flu data and the subject matter expert in this space is the CDC right here in Atlanta, of course. But the only way that you can really tell your flu activity in your area is getting actual flu cases reported from doctors' offices, which happens every Friday. So we have a week lag in between that data. So that's where we're inserting machine learning and AI to figure out and predict in between those times. So with that, I'm going to show you a couple of examples. And this one is one of my favorites with our Campbell's partner. So we built soup. This is a soup index that we built for them. This is one flavor of the creative, if you will.
I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
Pick one of your 2 examples so that we can stay on.
Oh,
this is awesome. So
yeah.
if it's this one or the next one,
Oh,
or
this
the one
one's the
after that, pick your favorite.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then we can wrap it up.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Okay, so I mentioned the integrated marquees. Work closely with Campbell's on these. We have multiple flavors of them. So we're serving those to our users, likely whenever they're in their house. But as Krista explained to you, it's whenever they're starting their day and planning their day. So they could very well still be under their covers in bed, not experiencing weather. So we're doing that here, but then also this out-of-home execution. That's a bus shelter in New York. So we're serving that same execution to the user who's outdoors, actually feeling and experiencing the weather. And I can really feel what a user would be experiencing in that condition. Like, okay, I'm freezing right now, I'm sitting at a bus stop, I'm about to start my journey, and I might want to make a casserole or soup for my family at the end of the day. So this allows you to do it. And the last thing I'll mention about this, working with our brand, is the click to cart element. So not only can the user see this, but we work with the client to identify the exact products they want in the cart. And you could either tap it or scan that QR code, and it would land directly in, I believe in this case, it was a Walmart shopping cart. It's a frictionless cart. I will skip over Briars and leave this as a leave behind for you guys to read about. So we can jump back to this one.
Awesome. So that actually is my favorite of what we actually showed today's campus. I hate cold. I love soup. I can feel myself in that bus stop. It's the right moment. It's a perfect marriage. So I love it. Well, speaking of a perfect marriage, didn't even mean to say that, but just worked. So we talked in the beginning about what we think makes a perfect marriage, right? We did talk about trust. And for us, that is making sure that the trust that our users have in us is strong, and that the trust between the brands that we choose to partner with, two-way trust, is just as strong, right? Talked about playing to each other's strengths. I think we've actually illustrated that here, how CVS comes in with their expertise, how State Farm comes in with their expertise. We play to each other's strengths, and that's really, really important. And then we learn from each other. We're really lucky that our biggest partners, and some of our small partners as well, are willing to try things with us and continue to learn. And together we get to continue to just make things better and more just wonderful, strong products for our users that really, at the end of the day, also elevate both of our brands. So I hope that gave you guys something to think about. I think I need to go find some soup.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to know, when's Watson going to become self-aware, or has it already happened and you're just not telling anybody?
You guys around for a bit?
Yeah. Cool, they're gonna stick around. Thank you guys, that was great. Love anything that has real, tangible, you can touch, you can see it, examples. So thanks for sharing so much.
Absolutely.
We're gonna be welcoming up our first of two panels here before a break. Karsten representing, obviously you guys know, LBMA, it's a global organization. Karsten is gonna be representing some of what's going on abroad in the retail landscape. So take it away.
All right, guys. This one. Okay, fine. Right, this works. Okay, fine. Okay, first of all, I want to thank you all for being here on day number 2 of the RetailLoco conference, which I'm attending since years. And honestly, this is a real part of my family right now. So after this long time period, this is what the LBMA is about. It's about sharing. It's about the feeling, the emotion we have behind those kind of things. And in a world where changes are more usual than having real life problems anymore. So think about the new technologies that are coming to the space. Think about the geopolitical things we have to face in Central Europe right now. And think about how the economy drives sometimes not as we expect. So, but this is not why we're here. We're not talking about problems, we're talking about solutions. I'm super happy to represent today our international panel. And actually, I'm missing Elizabeth right now. Where's she? She's gone. Anyhow, so we will do it later because what an international association is about the people. And the people are coming from all over the world. And we have a special lady today here. Actually, she's not in the audience yet, but we had her birthday case yesterday. And our idea was just to think about how many languages we're capable to speak and say happy birthday. And I can do it in German. I will fire this up, this conversation. I want to have you guys next in a language you can choose, you may familiar with, may your parents come from, or may you can speak that. From Germany, it is herzlichen Glückwunsch zum Geburtstag. From Japan, it is happy birthday. Great. So who else can have one? Come on, guys. Another language. There she is, our birthday. So next one. We have 3 languages. Come on, 4. You go. All right. That's your birthday wishes. Next language. We got another. 4 we have. Right, nobody else? Okay. Good. So happy birthday. Great to have you here. Okay, so this is about, and our panel will be about the international trends, and therefore I'm super happy to have Arne with me. He's from Germany actually, but his company is international, and he's having the company in Vienna, Austria. So happy to have him here, and I have Kuni with his friends from Japan with him, and Kuni is running the LBMA chapter there. Since what is that now? 5 years?
We started in 2019.
May you need microphone. Okay.
2019. Actually, I attended this event in 2018, and that's when I started to talk to Asif about forming a chapter in Japan. So it's sort of like coming back to our roots is the Atlanta. So.
Atlanta is falling through. So, and this is what it's about. So share it outside, wherever you are on the planet. The LBMA is an international network to help people to connect. The rest you can find on the internet, mostly, yes? On all platforms and other platforms. But it's about you people. If we share our information, we do in the panel right now. So this is the most important thing. Thank you, Asif, for setting this up now 12 years ago. Okay, so we start, everybody will introduce themselves, have a short presentation. Yes, I want you to have the slides there. A short presentation, what they're doing about it. It's a weird mixture of technologies and solutions we're talking about. And later on, we'll talk about the challenges we're facing in that typical market. All right, great. So Anne, firing up your microphone, it's your stage. Where are you going to do? All right.
It should work. Perfect. Hi, I'm Arne Schönle, based in Vienna with Swomni. Swomni is, at the end of the day, a tech solution provider, which is helping the clients to generate XR experiences since 2008. And on the other side, we are doing augmented reality navigation for indoor, mainly in the retail area. How do we use data? At the end of the day, most of our experiences are based on customer journeys. So if you know where you are in your customer process, we can give you the right experience. So data for us is a key driver. But it's not that easy in Europe because you have a lot of regulations. So it's always to find a way to go around those things. We are working mainly for different clients in different areas, rise with the automotive segment and international awarded.
Next slide.
Yeah.
Do this.
What do we do in the retail segment? I told before, our product is indoor navigation for retail. This means we bring the customers to the right shopping area, but we also give experiences on touch point. For the automotive segment, it's super easy. We support marketing and sales. When it comes to decision-making processes, specific in the Lexus car industry, it's not that easy because the dealers don't have all the models and all the varieties. With XR, we can extend the whole dealership. We are doing this for different other branches in web. So we are using the browser. It's not needed that you download an app, which it's also driven by we try to get out of these legal topics. But on the other side, we generate more data during using web services because users are familiar with that. We have more data.
All right, great. Thank you very much. We'll hand over to Kuni because he knows the partners from Japan much more better than myself. I'll give you a presentation.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Kuni Kawashima from LBMA Japan. As I said, we formed the LBMA Japan back in 2019, and we kind of formed the corporation nonprofit organization in 2020 February. It's exactly the same time as when the COVID hit. So yeah, but after that we have grown over to 53 members now in Japanese market, companies who runs the operations in Japan. And we started off with the 15 companies, 2 of them included here, coming with us here. But now it's, we started off with only 15 venture companies specialized in the location technologies and data. But now we have gone to, have more bigger corporations, including some guys like Sony, Mitsubishi, Kawasaki, and all those guys. Mostly not just the retail presence, but also we have a lot of companies now into the what's called the whatever that is, super city, or digital transformation of the city structures and all. And the government is funding a huge subsidies for these projects. So that's when things kind of get accelerated to have all these members coming to join us. So, I mean, we do have a lot of events. One of the events, the biggest real events we had last week, that's what the ASIF was there in Japan for. And we do have the very close relationship with the Japanese government for the use of the privacy data. We call it it's not the personal information per se, but we call the location data as part of the privacy structure, what they call it. It's kind of complicated, but anyway. So what's happening there? We're gonna hand this over to Toshi from Winery. Actually, Winery was the first company ever in Japan to go IPO. That was 3 months ago. Yeah, and it was the first company who uses the location data to go IPO. So that was a very significant event because nobody could pass the what the government was requiring for a company to go IPO with the privacy concerns. So that was the first time ever, and now everybody can go. Will be able to follow this IPO path is what we are believing to happen. So we are starting to see more companies getting bigger investments and all that. And one of the things that I wanted to say after coming to US today, I told a bottle of water at $7 at the airport. That was impossible, but it's not just the inflation, but also the currency rate is really, really bad to us. For the someone coming to US with a weaker currency rate. I couldn't remember the last time the Japanese yen was this low. Probably like 25 years ago when I was still in college in New York, and all my allowances was gone, and I couldn't, afford my meal plan even. So that was the kind of experience that I had. But anyway, so it's all-time low. So it's really a good time to get some, consider making some investments over to some of the Japanese companies with the location techs. So anybody who might be interested and who has a lot of money, you get the 30% or 40% off of what you might have gotten 6 months ago, right? So let's talk, all right? So, but anyway, so let me hand this over to 2 guys here. The first was actually it starts with the blog watcher. Yeah. So 2 companies who are very active, and they're also on the board of the LBMA Japan, and they're the 2 biggest guys with a lot of data. So I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Masato Sakata from Blog Watcher. So I believe Atlanta is become my favorite of this because today is my first English presentation in my life. So on the stage.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so I am so nervous now, so but I do start. So my name is Masato Sakata, CEO of Blog Watcher. So our company is founded in 2007 and as a joint venture of Recruit and Day2. Recruit is a company operating in Indeed.com, and Day2 is one of the Japanese biggest agency. So in 2000, originally as our name suggests, we provided the growth analytics solution in Japanese market. But in 2010, we made a big change in our business. Since that, we are focusing on the location data business. So looking back 10 years ago, we should change our company names itself, RoboWatcher, to another like location data watcher like that. So anyway, I'm thinking, I believe, so RoboWatcher is one of the longest history location tech company in Japan. So now we are providing 4 types of product in location tech. So first, our SDK. So SDK feature is like geofencing or location analytics or sending push notification. So we are providing the flexibility to control and manage their location data in their apps. So at this time, already 100 or more Japanese biggest applications are integrated our SDK. And they are sending location data to our server, 25 million users per month. So it is making our location data DMP. So as the center of the figure, so the map is in Japan. So our location data is covering all over Japan, north side to south side. So our location data distribution is very, very similar to the Japanese population distribution. So I mean, our location data can express our Japanese people's moving so everywhere. And the figure was right. So we are using our location data for our advertising business and our analyze dashboard. So Odekake Watcher is our product name. So Odekake is one of the Japanese word. So it means like go outside. So it means so we can provide how many people is coming from this area or how many people is going to this area or the relation we can analyze relationships or between 2 areas. So or we can monitor so how many people is coming to this retail store or this area. So we can monitor daily monitoring. We can do it. So.
Great, thank you. Next slide. Want to add something?
These slides are also case studies. Maybe I will explain about it.
Okay, let's do it later. Okay, great.
Okay, it's my turn. Hello everyone. My name is Hidetoshi Uchiyama. Just call me Toshi for this presentation. I graduated from the University of Michigan almost 22 years ago, and I worked for Pricewaterhouse and A.T. Kearney as a consulting firm, and I started my company in 2008. Can you give 2 more? Yes, and 1 more. Yes, okay. And now I founded my company called Uneri in 2015. That means a very big way in Japanese world. So, and the next slide, please. Okay, my company is about the location big data company. We have two types of the data. One is the location data, and we have 110 million IDs all around in Japan. And also we have the purchase data with the value of $20 billion US. So we combine location data with the purchase data. Then we analyze those data in AI brains, and basically we have offering. We are offering 3 types of services. One is the analytics and the advertisement, and one-to-one system solutions. That's what we are doing. And the next one is the regarding IPO. One more thing, please. Okay. Thanks to a lot of my customers and everybody, we could successfully go public in July. Yes.
Congratulations.
I think we are the first one in Asia. I don't know much about the US and the EU market, but we are the first one in Asia. Our sales is growing on 60% on the average, and in July we could go public. Why I'm here is that we have in 2016 we have a capital and the business alliance with Coca-Cola Japan. So that's why I'm here. the advantage the city of Kobe. Then we have the Captain Alliance with Day2, which is the advertisement company, and the NTP Data, the number one system integrator, and the Mitsubishi Trading Company, which is also the number one in Japan. So I just want to cover the quick case study. One more, please. In 2016, I founded the company in 2015. They are already a very strong location big data company. Yes, him. So I started from beacons. So the idea is that we embed the Bluetooth beacon to a lot of vending machines. Do you know how many vending machines in Japan?
A lot.
A lot, yes. 5 million vending machines. The number is almost same number in the US, right? So we embed the Bluetooth beacon to a lot of vending machines. And Coca-Cola is also the number one vending machine provider. So can you click one more? Okay, one more. Yes, so this is. So we embed the Bluetooth beacon to a lot of vending machines, also develop a mobile application for that. If you have the mobile application, then open it and hold the mobile application to the vending machines. You can connect with the vending machines, and if you buy a home, you get the stamp. So if you have the 15 stamps, you can get a coupon. So, and if you have coupons, and if you swipe the coupon into the vending machine, you got a pop. That's cool, right? So that is what we have done. It's 2016, but it's also the successful case in the world. So the idea is that now we have the location data of GPS mainly for outside, and Bluetooth beacon inside the buildings and the basement and so on. But our characteristics is that we have 2.1 million beacons all around Japan. So the idea is the next slide, please. Okay, before a lot of companies have done the Bluetooth beacon types of marketing campaign, but most of them failed because they develop their own mobile application. They embed the Bluetooth beacon inside the department store and so on. But the problem is that there are limited number of the downloads and there are limited number of the Bluetooth beacons. As a result, they couldn't make the significant business impact. That's why they failed. Maybe in any other country as well. So we have developed a platform that connects the mobile applications with the Bluetooth beacons. Now we have, there are already a lot of beacons for some reason already. So they register their existing beacons into our platform. And then we also embed the SDK, the location-based SDK, to 120 mobile applications. So if you just have the beacons and register to my platform, that beacon can be connected to the 120 mobile applications. So that's the idea. And we have a patent for this platform, and now that patent is effective in Japan and US and China. So that's what we call Beacon Bank. That's the concept. Beacon Bank, yeah. Right. So that basically we have, and just next slide, please. But the problem with the beacon is that the beacon is hardware, right? But now our new project is about the software beacons. There are already a lot of IoT devices which is running on the Android. So we deliver the software beacon to a lot of Android devices, and if that software is installed, that Android devices emit the Bluetooth beacons that we call software beacons. Now we have solved already the hardware problem. Thank you very much. That's very hard.
Amazing. Right, so we are right now in the middle of the product presentation of the cases. So this is amazing, and I want to ask about his actual product. And I know you're working close with a lot of brands. We saw the brand names already on your slide, but maybe you can explain a bit more what the projects are about. I think there's something in the automotive industry going on. We think, okay, no, this is related to retail, and we had yesterday kind of about augmented reality and virtual reality and the metaverse. How does it fit into what you guys are doing?
Okay, the M word is again here. I think going to all these ambiguity we got asked yesterday. At the end of the day, it's always about data and how the product is coming into the application or into the solution. And if you don't have the model, you cannot build nothing. And specifically, if you go to the automotive industry, who knows how much 3D models one car is? Is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 7? Is it 1? Just raise your hand. Who believes that's one model? One set of 3D data? 5? It is more than 10. So to build a car with 3D data means you need to build the car in 3D. Because you don't have all data coming from one data source. And that's the reason why I wanted to jump a little bit the automotive industry, because it is not that easy to make a car. And so to go to the whole journey, you need to write a product. We have actually to work with super brands where we can do such things. We have built applications. But I think it's more interesting to watch on the other side, the smaller companies. Yesterday we heard if you have a product which is $400 or $500, it's worth to make a model. The company which I want to talk, the product is normally $800 to $1,500, and they face a situation that they have no docking business, which was not possible to do 2 years. So in first time in their life, they have to make a decision if they want to go digital. And then you have to see all these things besides data. What does this mean? Because no docking business going digital changed completely the business strategy, the business model. So we did it with them. And we did it very, very simple by using data which they have from potential clients and gave them something which they can share to their clients. And that was the starting point of the digital journey 2020. And now we have all the products in line. And the classic door knocking business sales guys can use this for an entry speech and say, sending you on WhatsApp and say, hey guys, do you want to make a house party? This is what I want to do with you. Try it in your house, because they can place the XR model in their living room without using the app. And if they say yes, they can say, okay, I want to have this party and invite more friends, which brings us more data and more clients. Or they can purchase it in the app, or in the web service, and they can get the kickback, the sales process which has to transfer the data or the content to another person. So that's more what I want to talk about. Because if it comes to metaverse from the automotive segment, okay, now you have the 10 plus models, you create one. How do you bring it to the metaverse if there is no data standard for 3D data? I can spend a whole day here talking about this. Maybe it's interesting for you.
But actually, it's just it's another touch point coming up. So this is what we're talking about. We're both in the industry, and a lot of you guys since years, and we made somebody knows Second Life, all the things we did. It's 15 years ago.
We had a company. I was the CEO of that. Was Second Promotion. And we have FC Bayern Munich and the Allianz Group coming into that. And 1 year later, it was that.
Exactly. So, but it's a touch point, and what may can help us with is just to interact with a human being in a different way. What we do right now is just having this 2D display thing. We try to interact with that by touching and doing things like that. And so, metaverse can help us to get a new touch point, which we also have to adapt that into the modeling thing. But this is not what I want to talk about. It's more about the data side of the story, and how much you guys are in the data side. So if you have this massive data stacks, so how we can combine that in the future, and obviously it's also a security topic at the end of the day. So I'm super happy to tell you today that the LBMA will be next year's more focused also on the cybersecurity, secure infrastructure side, because we are coming from that hardware beacon, software beacon side, and so we have this non-data side things. And what we're doing is right now, so we are forming kind of interest group in the LBMA focused on the infrastructure on the data side. Therefore, we have some activities in Europe going on with a conference and the exhibition going on called Techies in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, sorry for that. Anyhow, and so I want to talk about with you, Roger, how you handle this data, because you have this massive amount. how people moving back and forward, and so this must be secure. There is what's the Japanese view on security? That's all. No, it's just data. It's data and how you connect them. In your case.
Can I explain about this case? Yes. So this is one of the use case of analyzed location data for retailers. So actually, we can know how they moving, where they are going to. So do you know Ginza in Japan? So Ginza is one of the most crowded area in Tokyo. So there are so many department store or shopping mall or so many like office building. So the figure on the left is our location data divided into 4 colors. So the blue dots is this is very basic use case, but the blue dots is meaning by car. So the red dots means by walking. So the orange dots meaning the running or by bicycle, and the green dots means they are staying there. So there, the blue dots mean, in this figure, the green dots is a place of the department store or office building, and the blue dot is allowed to spread around to the large roads. So I mean, so and on the figure of the center and the right, it is meaning so where they are coming from to they are going to. So I can you know, in Tokyo area, there are so many train station and subway station. So the retailers would like to know, so it is very helpful to know so what station is most related to their stores. So on the figure on the right meaning, so what store, what station is most related to their stores. So to using this information, so it can be help their investment more efficient. So they can control their promotion cost. So to manage their like traffic promotion. So like in the in the past or in the there are so many out of home media or their advertisement. They can control this type of cost to find this information.
Great. So let's talk about the data side on this Toshi. So you're collecting also data as well. So how you handle this?
I just want to comment about security.
Yeah.
Right. In Japan, we have of course have a personal information law, but it's not strict as the it's not as strict as the GDPR or CGPA. So the location data is called as personal related information in Japan. So because of that, a lot of the location big data company collects the location data without the user consent. That's what happened in 2018 and 19. And a lot of events happens, and so problem happens. So we, LBMA Japan, especially the leader Kawashima-san, made a guideline which a lot of location data company must comply with. And the Blogwatch and maybe might be the first one, maybe, to comply with the LBMA Japan location data guideline. That's what we did.
Great. So you're working very close with the government on those kind of things. What are they doing there?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the location data or the data in general, things are moving fast, right? So, before you know it, next evolution is happening. So it's really tough for government to, keep up with what's happening in the world. So what they look for right now is to, have organizations like us to, draft sort of like the next, compliance rules. And so we kind of offer them, hey, this is what's coming next, right? So if you don't look at it, go ahead, look at it. If you don't make it into a law, more than happy. But but at least having this kind of a relationship would be healthy. So we just take the step, faster than what they can come up with any laws or the strict rules.
Yeah. So from our experience with the LBMA, it is when it comes to data, it's not about technology. It's about your idea what you want to do with the data and how you structure the data for your company. It's not this, oh, here's a new device, it's collecting data. What can we do with that? Yes, that's nice. But first of all, you have to have an idea what kind of data you need to run your business. And then search for solutions, because hardware will change, software will change. We saw it at Android. I said, one of our member companies, the biggest loyalty program in Europe, it's even bigger than Starbucks announced yesterday. Starbucks said yesterday it's 21 million users of the Starbucks card. So payback card from American Express in Germany has 27 million active users on their loyalty card. So those guys decided no longer to use location-based services either than geofencing. So geofencing is fine. This is the only thing that's working for them, because everything else, beacons, telephone traffic, if it comes to the Android software stack, and you can just definitely tell stories about that. So you have so many different versions of the software, different versions of the phone, enable consent, no consent, those kind of things. And they decided we couldn't handle the situation. We're talking about a loyalty program with more than 20 million active users. So they said, okay, I can handle this. So going back to the browser, going back to the data model you're thinking about is the right one for you as a company, and then find, is there technology, hardware or software technology can help me to collect this data? And I think this is where we're facing in our net. We say, all right, we're going back from the app. Okay, that's obviously a development process, also technology, yeah, into the browser. And I remember the conversation we both had 15 years ago about browser games. So that was the same story. So they had the boxed games before, which is nothing else than an app. So you have to buy the box, put it in your machine, download, upload it, install it, then you can play the game. And then companies appear to say, oh, we can do it in a browser. What? And it was weird. but that's where you're falling, mostly.
I'm feeling old.
Oh, we are.
We've known each other for 2 years. You're holy shit. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, that's one of the problems I mentioned before. We have an indoor navigation system. For augmented reality, sounds completely new. No, it's there since years. You use beacons. We don't use beacons. You have no third-party included, and it's working on the browser. You don't need to install an app. You can if you want, but this means only you get more data. For regions where they don't want it, or what's the first exit to try it, you can use it in the app. So it's completely about technology. And this makes it super complex. It took us more than 3 years to make it happen. To reach that point, to be independent from third parties, for localization, for initial goals, and for all these things which you have talked about. But it's exactly what we are facing. It's going back from how to collect data in a way that the user feels comfortable, and it still fits to the different laws in different regions.
So, all right. So we have time for just 1 or 2 questions from the audience, and I'm super happy that please have the first question.
What you guys got?
Come on, Japan on stage. Ask things. Not about cucumbers. Anyhow, there we are.
I'm coming over there.
Yes. Great, thank you.
Hey everyone, Nick from Radar. We're super excited about beacons at Radar. We actually sort of fought supporting beacons in our platform for a really long time and said we're going to do this software only with just geofencing. And we found a lot of retailers wanted to start using beacons. I'm curious where you all see beacon tech going. Are you looking at ultra wideband as something to watch, or are you all sort of happy with iBeacon and what it's capable of today?
Who will answer the question?
So regarding beacons, there are several types of beacons, but mostly I use iBeacons. But I also develop a special types of beacon to react with the whole application without the background location permissions. That's very needed. But regarding the CPG brands, we installed a lot of beacons to retailers, and now we are forming a kind of retail media network across the retailers and across the borders. That is actually used by the CPG brands. They want to deliver advertisement very close to the user touch point, especially in the retail stores.
Thank you very much.
Hold on, we got one
One
more.
more.
It's from the big guy.
Oh, come on.
I have a follow-up on the retail media network. So there's been a lot of announcements this year in the US about different media networks, you know, CVS doing their own, this retailer doing their own, you know, Walmart launching media network, whatever. I don't know what's going on there. But so in Japan, you're saying you're kind of building this network that kind of brings multiple retailers together. Are they okay to kind of collaborate, you know, between each other and share? Are they sharing data, or are you walling it off, or how is that being handled?
There are so many political things and the battle between the retailers and advertising companies. So, but the idea is that in US there are very strong retailers such as Walmart, Target, Kroger, but in Japan we're not. The market is so fragmented. So that's why there needs to be someone who creates the retail media network across the retailers and maybe across the borders. So that the consensus at this moment.
Give these guys a hand.
All right. See. Are we?
Probably switch over. Yes, sorry, what do you want me to do? Always switch over?
Yeah,
We're gonna try and get this screen. Oh, okay.
Awesome.
All right,
Thank you.
you ready for this? Guys, we've got a panel, we got a break, and then we've got another keynote. So we're in the home stretch, and I get to be on this panel, so I'm really excited. So we're getting set up, trying to get this TV working. Come on up, grab a seat, and then Steve's going to lead us. So I'm just going to bring this mic on stage, and we're going to keep rolling. Yeah, no, it's all good. All right. Customer experience. Welcome back, Nick. We're good to go.
Thanks for having me back. It's great to be
Yeah,
back.
it's good to be back.
Let's do it.
Feeling good today.
All right. Okay, well, thanks guys for coming in, and appreciate all your time. And I know Christina, you missed yesterday, but we're glad to have you today, so it's good. So maybe just quick intros, just who you are, who you work for, kind of what your role is.
Hi, I'm Christina Garcia. I'm the SVP Head of Engineering for 8451, which is the AI and Analytics Division of Kroger.
Hi guys, Kevin Panofsky, co-founder of Berg Digital, boutique digital agency here in Atlanta, focuses on multi-location brands and marketing. And don't forget, we've got folks in the metaverse on this camera here, so there's even more people in the audience.
Hey everyone, Nick Patrick, CEO, co-founder of Radar. I spoke yesterday, so I'll keep it super brief. Geofencing platform, power all sorts of location use cases for retail brands, other brands. So excited to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Edie Kirkman. I help companies make software to meet expectations of today and tomorrow. And I work across multiple industries in the past with supply chain, with hospitality, with ad tech, and now with fintech. And most recently, I work with Fiserv.
Awesome, thank you. So I always like to start off panels with like, you know, really easy kind of fun questions. So I'm gonna ask you, other than like discounting your own companies and technologies and stuff, what's your favorite app that's on your phone right now that you know is using location data that you use?
Dark sky.
Dark sky. Okay, good one. Where's the weather people? Are they okay with that?
Isn't Dark Sky shutting down? Yeah. I love social apps. I mentioned yesterday I used to work at Foursquare. I've been using this app called eRail recently. Anybody else on eRail? You can kind of geotag it's super cool. Hopefully they'll add tagging actual POI instead of just reverse geo, but super cool app.
For me, it actually would be my weather app. I have 3 kids, and as a single mom, getting an 8-year-old to get dressed in the morning without looking at that app is a fight. So we look at the app, we decide what the weather is going to be so that he knows what to wear that's appropriate.
Guys, I'm just gonna go with Google Maps because I drive so much and I take calls while I'm driving, and I can just punch it in, and I now have CarPlay, so that maybe that's my bridge is CarPlay as a function of other location-based apps because it helps me multitask more effectively, less crappily.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I want to kind of pick up on what Christine just said about 3 kids and being busy and all of that. So when you guys think about your daily journeys, whatever that looks like for you, from when you wake up in the morning and you're getting ready for work and then you're going to work and you're at work and all of that, whether that's, we call it a consumer journey or a shopper journey or whatever, however we want to define that, how is location data, playing into, that for you throughout the day, and creating a better sort of experience? How are you guys seeing it? What we used to call that, in the early days of the LBMA, we used to talk about, this cookie for the physical world, and how, location data is really with you wherever you are, whether you're, at Starbucks picking something up and there's something going on there, or you're in your car, with CarPlay, or, you're walking by a billboard, on the street, there's always some intersection. So thoughts on that? Let's start with you.
A lot of it has to do with what type of day that you're having. Are you having a typical day where you just drive to work, or a lot of us are working from home, or are you actually traveling? So depending on what scenario you're in, that determines the products and apps that you go through. So for a typical weekend, when you think about it, my day starts off with being at home, and then we look at the weather, to decide, do we want to go outside today? Is it raining? Is it mad? Is it beautiful? And then we go to the park. And then for convenience wise, I think about, I need to do some shopping, but I don't want to do the physical shopping. So, it's a beautiful day out, so I'm going to use an app like Shipt, or I'm going to use a grocery store app, and then they will collect my things and I'll pick it up on the way. So from that standpoint, there's a lot of decisions to be made in the physical world of where you want to be, and then where do you want things to come to you from.
Right. Yeah, maybe just to build on what Edie said, the apps that we use over the course of the day and how we use them sort of change. And I think despite that, a lot of the apps that we use don't actually change. You open them and they're sort of static regardless of where you are in the physical world, or what time of day it is, or what's happening around you. I think the same is true about the operating system itself, right? I open my iOS device, open the lock screen, and it's just the same static grid of apps right there. And so I think, over the next decade or so, we'll start to see more and more apps add contextual awareness to the home screen. Maybe if, you open an app in the morning and you're, getting ready for work, it sort of recognizes that you're home. It shows you, features and content might be different, later in the day, or if you're on premise, in a store or something like that. And, I'd like to think that, Apple and Google are going to start to add features to the OS to sort of like say, hey, like bubble my app up this time, or, in this context. So that's kind of how I think about it.
I'm going to draft off that and tell you what I want in the near future. This is the usual things. It's navigation. It's the tropical smoothie curbside pickup app that just works perfectly every time on the days that I actually am doing that. Which again, it's a habit thing, right? Person mode versus business mode. But the thing that I want, was actually prompted by the Facebook glasses that whoever had them on yesterday. I really want to try to get these Amazon specs because I love Alexa. She's my side chick. Because I ask her every morning about the weather and she gets me ready. And so this idea that I can wear a pair of glasses that is an extension of the apps in my pocket, and it's like a little Cortana following me around and helping me throughout the day. That's where I want to get to. I haven't tried it yet.
I don't think I have much to build on other than as retailers, recognizing how we use data to create relevancy for the experiences of the individual. The best apps that I use are the ones that use information about me and my journey with them to navigate where I might be on my current journey. Like if I always buy chili products in September and November, do I have awareness and is it pre-added to my cart? If I have, consistent purchasing of Flonase during soccer season for my kids? Like, is Walgreens aware that like this year pollen is earlier, and are they preemptively letting me know that and helping me be aware of that so that I reduce friction in my life and the uh-oh moments? Because that's the reality of the world we're in. We're consistently being harbored by data. And if there are retailers who can navigate through that to help us ease the friction, the stress in our lives, and make it easier for us to just be in the moments that we have, those are the ones that are really going to create that relevancy factor across all the data that we are going to have to give them context and access to.
Awesome. So let's shift over to from kind of your own experiences to your clients or the businesses that you work in. Like, how are you seeing location data play into creating, positive business outcomes for your company, for your own operations? We want to jump in on that.
We use a lot of location data to ensure that we are picking orders as efficiently and quickly as possible, so that when we promise what's on shelf to that customer, we can ensure that it's in the basket for them and that our customers can have it within the short amount of window time that like we've provided to them as that guideline for when they're going to get it, either for pickup or for delivery to their home. It's really important for us to make sure that we're navigating the stores appropriately and easily from a location perspective and navigating those planograms so that we can meet customer demands and exceed them if we can. It's also about relevancy to regions and locations around the products that we do service to our customers based on the neighborhoods and the demographics of the area to make sure that the products that our customers want are on those shelves for them.
Including cucumbers.
Including
So we work with a lot of consumers. We're performance, brand, marketing, services, business, and shop. And so clients like First Watch Restaurants, we've done a lot of work with Racetrack, and so on and so forth. So a lot of multi-location. And what we've been getting into lately, thanks to very accessible CDP and ESP technologies and segmentation of data, is just smarter customer lifecycle mapping and determining which types of customers are in which mode with us, what frequency, what relationship, and the relative location or frequency of location and modality. There's just a big difference between a delivery customer, a curbside customer, an in-store customer, and how you can kind of permeate and encourage and make frictionless ways to move between those. Because there's just different unit metrics for different customers based on that. And so we're really working to kind of bridge the gap between humans in user mode, which is kind of where we've been the last 10 years, right? As a user inside of a web utility, to bridging between a human mode and what does that mean on the user side? How do you kind of hack that with both technology and messaging, but also a lot of paid media targeting as well to kind of pair that at that life cycle that they're at.
I think for retail specifically, we see 3 use cases that are super popular right now. The first is kind of just standard location-based messaging. How do you find folks who open the app, right place, right time, drive app engagement? The second is location-based arrival detection for curbside pickup and in-store pickup. I think there the business impact is seamless pickup experiences equal shorter wait times, higher customer happiness. They come back and do it again. We're seeing a lot of retailers right now investing in-store mode functionality. This isn't powered by Radar, but I think a lot of folks cite Home Depot as the gold standard. If you go to Home Depot, open Home Depot, it says, welcome to store mode. It shows you where you can find different items. It has, kind of scan product features, services, a loyalty program. So we're talking to a lot of retailers these days about like, hey, what behaviors do you want to drive on premise? What behaviors do you want to drive in app? Is it frictionless checkout experiences? Is it loyalty program usage? Is it something else? And hey, if somebody opens the app in the store, let's detect that really quickly and accurately. Let's show them the right things to drive those actions. And maybe some of those things you actually you don't want to be available if you're not on premise. So let's detect when something's not on premise as well, and maybe restrict features. So that's what we're seeing today in terms of use cases and business outcomes.
So location is just one piece of information to give you context of your customer. So when I was in the hospitality business, we really thought about what does that mean that on the day of travel or the day before travel or post-travel, what does it mean in terms of where you are and where your context to your experience is? And we really took into factors of your origin destination, where you're originating and where you're departing from and where you're going to show you a lot of planning information about here's the weather, when you arrive there, here are the things that you need to know about this particular property, that there's no restaurant, that here's things that you can plan. And we've had all sorts of partnerships with OpenTable and Yelp and Grubhub to be able to provide those contextual experiences that's appropriate for that brand and that particular property to get customers ready for their journey.
That makes a lot of sense. So I want to I've kind of heard woven through some of the comments here about kind of looking a little bit to the future. And so kind of a two-part question. So when you think about the apps that you're kind of building for your clients today or that you have, or that you work with, driving downloads and reach and frequency and getting that install base is always a challenge, right? Because if you don't have density, it's kind of like a big problem, right? You spend a lot of money and kind of people aren't using it, and then is it an app that people want to have on their phone and every day, or is it an app that they only need every 6 months? How do you guys think about sort of driving engagement? And usage and monitoring. Anybody can jump in.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. Just because this is a recent example, I'll use a recent example. So we're helping about a 90 location restaurant franchisor here, predominantly here in the Southeast. Somewhat legacy brands. So you've got some OG franchisees who've been around for a long, long time. Obviously, these are the operators. They're dealing with customers every day. And you've got corporate who is extremely intelligent, really means well, but obviously can't always speak the same language. And I did some stakeholder interviews talking to some of these operators, asking them what the questions to qualify was, what percentage of your customer base do you think will download and use your brand's mobile app, over a year in or so? And the range was from 10% to 85% of all customers. So I tell that story to say, and I'll use another analogy really just to qualify the answer, because it's not one number. It's not one giant homogenized number of, we've got to hit 50,000 or 50 million. The same way that you can go viral on social media with a subset, a subculture, or a subculture within a specific app, and it can be wildly beneficial to your business, even though 90% of the people that don't know it existed. So we work to qualify who are your customers that will use this, why are we not, what is going to be the relationship to it, the people who are going to be the low-hanging fruit, the people who are going to be converted in, and what that means for customer lifetime value.
From an app perspective, you really have to segment your focus. And a lot of the times it's really loyalty, right? Like nobody's going to take screen real estate on their phone and they actually remember you if they're not a fan of your brand or they're not getting some kind of personal satisfaction and reward for the products that you offer. So really, we have to meet customer whatever channel that they want to interact with you on, whether it's mobile web, whether it's desktop web, via app, in-store, wherever it is that you have to create those experiences, and then you have to kind of step them into the loyalty factor through different type of programs to make sure that you are gaining the traction of the audience that actually cares about you via the app channel.
I'll build a little on that, but also kind of contradict it a bit, only because I believe loyalty is a myth. How many of you actually only have one loyalty program for a retailer? We kind of sign up for all of them because we want to take advantage of all of this. Like, I don't only have one credit card in my wallet. I have multiple because, like, if I want travel bonus, I'll use this one, points, but right, we play that game as consumers. I think the reality goes back to, it's less about like, oh, I want them only to be loyal to me. It's like, I want to create the relevancy so that they are always willing to work with me. And habits, yes. It goes back to modalities too. Like there are some behaviors and some customers who are gonna love this modality and we're gonna wanna entice them. Well, it's almost like dating with a customer, right? I'm gonna make you really love me up front. It's a little bit of lust, you like me. And then I'll keep you happy along the way. And then I'm gonna give you a boost of dopamine because wow, you just gave me this great reward and now I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna get $10 off. So it's really about recognizing each of your unique individual customers, how they wanna connect with you, how they best connect with your brand, and how do you engage them so that you're always creating the most relevant experience for them in that moment for what they need and what they want.
Yeah, at the risk of sounding dumb, I feel like you just need to give people a reason to download your app. I feel like the first generation of retail apps was it's a store locator and you buy for your website. Like that's no longer enough. So what do you do to really go above and beyond? It might be a, really seamless, slick order ahead experience. It might be, in store mode. It might just be really great design. The home screen of my phone is like precious real estate. So like, how do you make your app good enough that you're going to go to the app store and download it, and you're going to put it, in an accessible place on your phone, and maybe you'll even pull it out in the store. So give people a reason to download the app and do something really unique and differentiated.
Yeah, I think for an app to be successful, as soon as you open it, you need to understand the value it delivers to you. Whatever that content is, whatever that first time experience after you log in, which causes friction. So you have to let people know and prompt them to understand what you're getting immediately on your homepage. And then that's how you start gaining traction and building that relationship with your customer.
I would even argue it's got to be before that. You've got to have it where Nick tells me, dude, you got to download this app because it provides me so much value, and I know you do this same kind of thing. And that's when it really takes off. So that's number one. The other thing I wanted to add was the things not to do, or the reasons not to do this stuff is, certainly not to invest in these things where you're starting from a place of this is how we've always done it, right? So don't take a loyalty program from even just 3 years ago and try to just hack it into a mobile app in the same function. Don't do it because somebody else, or it seems to be baseline for the industry. Don't do it to please somebody up the chain or down the chain, right? A chief executive or a franchisee. And don't do it just for sales KPIs only. That's a great place, obviously easiest, best place to start. Do it because you've done the diligence to know your customers and what they want from you and how it will bring value to them, reverse engineer into that customer value, increase.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, but kind of drawn from the previous discussion. So when you look at like markets like Asia, like you're seeing now a lot of, I'll call them super apps, right? Where they're like WeChat and Alipay, and these apps are like on every phone, of every consumer, and they're doing multiple things, right? And even now we're starting to see a little bit of that push into the North American market where you've got apps like Yelp and Uber and other things now. Yelp's now selling concert tickets, as well as restaurant reviews and working with Ticketmaster and kind of tying it all together in one app, in one environment. So is that a challenge, or is that an opportunity for brands that are looking to create their own experiences when you're starting to see this sort of super app type of aggregator of multiple services in one place? Go ahead.
I would say our ecosystem is so fragmented, and we have such kind of legislation against monopolies and things like that, that it's hard for us to have a super app. The closest thing that I can see evolve into that is really Android and iOS. If they can curate better, if they can build a different type of home screen experience, so the brands and the apps can plug in to, here's my widget, and then these are the things that we're gonna show you in sequence. And then somehow, I think like iOS and Android, they know enough about us, about our data, about all the apps that we use, because we can tell that, Apple just start copying things that becomes popular and make things obsolete. they have the power to do this, and that they can create the experience so much better if they just curate that home screen experience where I don't need to see any icons anymore, right? And I think that's the closest thing we have that can evolve into that.
Yeah, we work with a customer in Southeast Asia called TravelLoco. They're a big travel app. They're sort of like Booking.com plus like Afterpay for payments, plus like DoorDash for delivery. And obviously, there are location applications for all of those things. I think that's kind of cool. We think about this a lot as a startup. It's really hard to do a lot of things well. And so I think you can do a lot of things, and you can do a lot of things well, but sometimes it makes more sense just to do one particular thing really, really well. So in a world where consumers have tons and tons of choices, I think one strategy is we'll give them all their choices and everything they need in one app. And the other option is to say, we're going to specialize in this one thing, do it exceptionally well, be the best, deliver a truly world-class experience, and we're going to sort of rise to the top of what consumers need.
I think of it like a little bit like Microsoft Excel. They can do a lot, but I use like 5% of what it can do.
I think it's also like retailers probably aren't going to give up their brand, but are willing to partner with individuals. Think about like, I'm partnering with Instacart, or I'm gonna partner with DoorDash. I'm gonna partner in a lot of different places because I know the consumers may want and feel really good and relevant with these modalities, but I'm gonna create this additional one, right? I think the other challenge we have in the US is you have organizations that are big and don't want to play in other spaces. You have individuals standing up and saying, I don't want to play with Amazon, and I don't want to play with Target. So that's part of the challenge. It goes back to being a very fragmented and capital kind of driven region where you'll only see that if people opt in to partnering in that, and less about somebody truly being able to take over as the only platform that provides this, and therefore it is your cost of entry almost.
Yeah, and yet there's like so many interesting matchups. So like just last week, DoorDash announced a partnership with the Golden State Warriors. And so now all of a sudden, like you could be sitting at a game, a Golden State Warriors game, and on DoorDash, and you could order food from local restaurants outside of the stadium, and they will bring it into you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think
like, that's kind of cool. I think.
Partnerships are, because we've been talking about it. I mean, whether you guys are talking about the partnership effect, you were just using the example of what was it, like Flonase or something, and Walgreens. But like, I don't want Flonase to push notify me. I want the place I buy it and trust. The same way, like I don't like Comcast. I like the content or whatever. It's not that nobody has that. So yeah, I think the partnership way is the way to go versus trying to own it all.
You were gonna say something.
Yeah, I think it's a platform play when it comes down to it. You create the ecosystem, and then that's your front door for the experience. And then our experience is just happen to be app by app. If you do any kind of development in China, WeChat, they don't make all that stuff. Like they create the APIs, right? And then developers create their own retail experiences or payment experiences or booking experiences, whatever it may be. And then customers actually opt into that experience. That's not downloading another app. But at the same time, you're opting into which retailer, which place I want to interact with through QR or through kind of more explicit selection of how I want that experience to come through to the platform.
Yeah. So let's just shift the discussion a little bit now to measurement and metrics and kind of what that looks like right now. Because obviously we've got all these apps, we've got all these experiences that we're creating for consumers. Downloads is one way to look at that, but are there kind of new ways that we're looking at measuring how effective they are? Are they actually creating good experiences? Any thoughts on measurement?
Measurement in general is really, it's a complicated element because unlike a science experiment where you can have a control factor, you don't always get that in retail because you're trying to push basket size, market share. So I think that the reality is retailers need to recognize where they want to invest and own the KPIs that they want to measure against. Do I want market share? And is everything that I'm doing strategically aligning to that? Am I leveraging all of my pieces of data to build a puzzle that allow me to win in that KPI?
Am I placing products at the right place at the right time for our customers? Or am I allowing my shelves to stay unstocked in areas for these products where my customers want them? So it's really about getting clear on what are your KPIs and then what are the drivers you're going to use and be intentional about, whether it be an app or supporting a different modality or partnerships that will allow you to drive on those KPIs instead of saying, well, I'm just going to use this metric over here to say that it's relevant. It may not actually be relevant to the thing that you need to grow for your business.
Yeah, I'll add to that, and I'll actually just kind of, I think it was your presentation, I was talking about just the rising of the bar that happens, right? And then when we had like Tropical Smoothie and some of the others up here yesterday, they were like, we can only do so much. Like I have 120 locations, that's not Amazon or Uber. And so I think you have to balance and partner and prioritize. If you're not doing it, if you're only coming through one lens, a sales lens, a brand lens, a marketing lens, a competitive lens, a CapEx lens, like it's gonna be one-dimensional and you're gonna have lopsided impact, I think. So if you're not having a very balanced, multidisciplinary departmental conversation about not only the KPIs and how you're gonna measure its effectiveness, but also who's contributing to invest in the technology uplift. There's a lot of reasons to do it. I think the number one KPI across all of the different ways you can measure has to be incrementality of some sort. You gotta have some sort of control, whether it's sales or it's brand incrementality or anything else.
Yeah, before I started Radar, I was a product guy, and I feel like every good product team like measures the impact of what they're doing. I think it's why tools like Day2, Mixpanel are so popular. How many daily active users do I have? I ship this feature. Are people using it? And how has this changed usage patterns in my app? And what's interesting is, we found that a lot of the companies that we work with, they understand how users are using their app, but they don't understand where. So there's this big blind spot when it comes to how location intersects with or interacts with that. We were just visiting a customer on site last week, and they had this very basic logging with Radar to say, what percentage of the time are our customers opening the app in store versus not? And it was like 20% of the time, customers were opening the app in store. They had no idea. They thought this was super interesting. And now they're sort of thinking ahead to, well, what are they doing when they're opening the app in store? Like where in store? Are they opening it in the in the shoe department because they can't find a particular shoe, or are they opening it in the golf department because something's out of stock? Like we have no idea. So I think over the last 10 years we've seen the emergence of tools like Amplitude and Mixpanel help eliminate these blind spots for product and digital teams. I think the next 10 years are going to be, well, how do I layer location so understand where are people using my app and what does that mean, and how do I build location-based features and messaging to my app according to shape behavior?
For good measurement to happen, you really have to figure out which customer journeys you promise to fulfill for your customers. And I love Toshi's slide where you had who, what, when, where, how, and how much. And then each of these is a specific measurement when it comes down to a specific journey. Even when you're saying, how can location help me with a who? Well, guess what? It helps you answer who else. How often do we get an alert that says, hey, is this you? Are you in Texas right now? I'm like, no, I'm not in Texas. So I will decline that and then flag that. So when it comes down to it, that is a measurement of success. And how do you apply contextual location data to understand if your customer is successful or not successful in this part of the journey where they're not getting to their end destination? And then that's what you need to find out.
Yeah, I like it. Sorry, open it up to the audience for questions. There, maybe still. Yeah. I'll run it down.
Hey guys, all right, so there's a lot of talk about the friction here, about the quantitative KPIs that you guys would be tasked to go after sometimes for your company or for your clients. And there's obviously the qualitative side of the experience of the user, right? So it's hard to kind of navigate each of your organizations, I'm sure, to find the right balance of showing you're always adding value besides just getting an ad served and got engagement. Yeah, great. It might come at the cost of someone not opening your app next time because you made their experience kind of crappy, right? So how are you guys finding ways to measure success criteria, or how are you kind of frame it so you don't have your teams fall off the cliff and go down the place you don't necessarily want to be?
I mean, I can just build on that other example I was sharing about that we're actively working on right now, which again is about a 90 location franchise restaurant organization. And it's a balance between, the easy thing to measure, the low hanging fruit, which is online order volume and basket size and frequency and things of that nature, overall visitation and those habits. But then it's also things like that I'm hearing from the organization at large, which is, please stop the phone from ringing, because A, it's causing me labor issues, and B, it's causing poor customer experiences. So then that's an insight operationally that we then are balancing both in the equation for what the features of this high customer digital experience. It's more than an app. We're contemplating way more than just an app. And can balance those feature sets to serve both operational and customer experience, which again, you do the right thing and provide value and make it easy and fun, if not enjoyable, for customers to do business with you. They clearly like your product, they're just pissed off that their plate is cold when it comes into their window curbside. So it's changing the way that we advise this client, and thankfully they're a client that's taking the time to do this and funding that level of insight. There's not a lot of people that do, they just dive in head first. For the low-hanging fruit. So to answer your question more specifically, how are we measuring it? Net Promoter Score, Google reviews. It's really it. And so these channels are already obviously on Google. You can see it come through. They've got their own customer service, own channels to do it. So we're benchmarking where those are at today. What is the difference between those and the ones that mention the word curbside? We're setting that as a baseline, and then we're going to build a product and bring it to market and reference those same Net Promoter Score and Google review, ratings and language, and determine that lift.
I think why you see like the rise in retail media probably hits on some of this as well. Prior marketing is all about imprints, right? Did somebody see it? You don't get the closed loop. You don't know if it was relevant. Retailers have that closed loop to say this campaign was relevant to this group of, individuals, so that they can actually close the loop and say qualitatively, this move you made, this push you made, this marketing thing actually made a difference. So it's really about measuring what matters to a CPG or to a retailer so that you get that qualitative as well as the historic trend, right? Did you deliver the value over time, and are you seeing it continue to rise, which means that you're staying connected with your true strategy as an organization, but also to all those customer journeys that you have, because it really goes back to, at the end, is an individual. Now you can start using your data to say, how do these individuals perform? How do I drive that journey? But I think retail media is the place where you start to see why the value of closing that loop is so important. And it goes back to, it's not just about the number of times it was seen, it was it seen valuable, and do I actually see the return on what I produced?
A lot of friction that customer sees is actually our own internal friction of the systems not communicating with each other, that the data that doesn't exist. And yesterday we talked about data is the new oil, data is the new money. Well, data is really the baton of the customer journey relay race. If you don't have the baton, if you can't hand it off properly, or if you can't start strong and you can't finish strong, then you're not going to win the race of loyalty when it comes down to it. So it really has to do with just kind of thinking about, I know we hate omnichannel, so maybe we can talk about a multi-dimensional experience between online and in-person experiences. And where does it start? From the digital marketing aspect, we bring them into the store. Love yesterday talked about order management system integrations. And then, yesterday we talked about stockouts. All of those are components of friction. And if we don't know that friction is going to come up ahead, we can't manage the experience for our customers.
I have a follow-up to that. Edie, that was a great point. And my question is one of, for all of you really, the great race to creating retail or restaurant customer experiences, and I have a story. So two weeks ago, dropping my daughter off at the University of Kentucky. There's several dozen large white cooler boxes, Yeti boxes, hot and cold, delivering fast food to their dorm, also beer to their tailgate. And it's great, it's fun, it's new. But to your point about internal, or maybe partnerships, you're adding cost to the model with the app development, you're adding cost to the model with robots. So what do you guys see out there in terms of that great race of technology and advancement, and maybe any examples on what wins in that internal battle or with that partnership, depending on the technology?
Do you want to become Blockbuster or not, would be my answer. Then what you do after that and how far behind and how far out you have to invest, then it becomes a smart, CapEx and otherwise, financing and envisioning exercise. But Blockbuster didn't do it, and so if you watch out, it's moving quick.
My wife went to med school at University of Kentucky. I'm actually going to the Louisville, Kentucky football game after Thanksgiving. But they're Louisville fans, so unfortunately. I think partnerships, whether that's an agency partnership or you're sort of leaning on a technology partner or something is great. That can help accelerate innovation. Oftentimes you're paying a tax of sorts. And I think what we find is that at a certain point and sort of a certain scale, we work with super large retailers and restaurant brands, and they want to start to bring some of that stuff in-house and really start to truly own the most important aspects of the experience, do things that are truly differentiated, get off the white label app or a DSP integration and just kind of own it all themselves. So I think partnerships are awesome. We work with a ton of folks like this. They can be super powerful to sort of like propel you forward more quickly into the modern digital age. But there's also a point at which it makes sense sort of selectively to just kind of own and build it yourself and maybe avoid paying tax to an external partner.
I think there's a number of things, retailers need to focus on. One, that friction is a cost in and of itself. If you can get more efficient, obviously the cost of goods sold goes down, which allows you to then invest in those partnerships. I think the other thing is please have a strategy around build by partner. You cannot be great at everything. Be great at the one why that allows you to win your customers. Remember, what is your right to win, and focus on that. IP that is going to allow you to exceed in your market. Other things probably are democratized or commoditized that you can partner with. That'll give you a leg up and accelerate so that you focus all of your attention on doing the one thing really well in your area and your business. And that is how you win. That is how you're able to continue the flywheel effect of saving, investing, growing, and moving forward.
I absolutely agree with what Christina's saying. No matter what size your business is, understand what is your core competency, because you're good at that and you should focus all your time on that and then literally outsource the rest. You could be a solopreneur and use Shopify and you can do fantastic things. So think about what you're willing to do and then what you're willing to give up, trying to control everything versus partnering or using a platform.
Hey, I was going to add to that too. We've been talking a lot about metaverse and are you going to miss the boat? You got to get in early. But in the same regard, I think there can be a shadow side to getting in too early. This one particular client that we're working with that I keep talking about has caught a lot of flack from their franchisee organizations that how is it possible it's 2022 and we haven't had an app yet? But I think they're actually in a much more strategically beneficial spot because the technology and the cost to access that technology to have a Chipotle level experience has just come so far down. You don't have to build it fully from scratch anymore. Whereas if they had ventured into this 5 years ago, when a lot of their competition was, probably, I don't know, adjusting for inflation, but it would have been a tougher road. And so sometimes waiting and seeing and then jumping at the right time, again, as long as you have the right goals in mind. In this case, I think it's actually benefiting them.
All right. We have one more question over here.
In regards to customer experience, is there technology out?
So in regards to customer experience, is there technology out that can address customer expectations for how much engagement they receive? So most time in emails, you just see subscribe, unsubscribe. But is there a way that they can say, hey, only contact me 2 days a week, once a month, twice a year, so that way we won't lose customers because we're giving them good information, but it may not be relevant. And in our case, we're in urgent care, so maybe they only want to receive updates about COVID and flu. Is there any technology where they can kind of control what they receive?
Unfortunately, because we're super fragmented, all of this is one-on-one right now, like one relationship to one relationship. That being said, I would, like if I were a betting person, I'm not, I would bet that we're gonna start to see more of these platforms show up as states like California and Virginia start to restrict contact and data privacy. When you start to see more of the shift there around you can only contact me and use my information if I give you permission, and I see the value in that permission, you're gonna see these platforms they're starting to show up, they're not, across the board. And then you're gonna see retailers saying, I can't build that ecosystem, so I'm gonna leverage this technology to do it. And then you'll see more of that cohesion. It is gonna be the regulations that's going to drive the need for it. Because right now it's data is gold and oil, so I'm gonna hold it because you gave it to me. As you see regulators, it's gonna be, I can't pay to play, so I'm gonna partner and play. And this is gonna become the leading partner for a lot of the retailers and other services.
I want to answer your question really specifically so that you can take it back and actually consider it as a tactic. I think your answer is somewhere inside of 3 little letters, CDP, right? That's what everybody does. It's a huge thing. So I think fundamentally, it's not about the messages or the alerts that you guys have to send. It's about the types of customers you have, and then being the CDP being this massive cross-channel, sort of mailroom of preferences and habits and behaviors, and yes, messages that you have that might be relevant inside of those. So if you don't have the CDP which is customer data platform, on your lexicon, get it in, research it. There's a bunch out there, getting more affordable, more capable, sharing more access and data through APIs and SDKs every day. And they probably partner with a lot of the software you already use, including an ESP to send emails or something for text messages and push notifications. But fundamentally oriented around the segmentation and the preferences and the types of customers you have. And you start there, the rest will kind of map itself out.
Yeah, and one comment from my side, I would say we're seeing kind of a wave of new startups around personal data vaulting where consumers are proactively putting their data and their demographic profiles and their brand preferences and interests into a system. And then when a brand or a retailer or somebody wants to engage, with that person or that audience, they can go through this platform. And actually, in some cases, even that consumer is going to get paid for the use of their data directly, micro transaction or something like that. So we're starting to see kind of different revenue models involved around data. So, question over here.
Great panel, y'all. With data being gold and being used in a lot of advertising use cases and even just communication with your users, how are you guys combating the fact that there's a lot of media posts and articles and blogs out there that kind of put a fear into sharing data, fear to allow app tracking, allow location data, but there's obviously an exchange for value when they do opt in. Is it in your own app messaging, or to say oh, if you add a lot of tracking, this will allow you to cross app connect, and it might be for rewards, it might be for a free coffee at another type of co-marketing or something like that. So is it a responsibility on you guys to educate as well to get that exchange? Or how are you combating the data loss?
Yeah, I can start. So Radar is a data processor under GDPR parlance, but our customers do look to us for advice on how to navigate this stuff. I think what's most important is you can't just hit customers or app users with permissions prompts with no context anymore. You really need to say, whether it's part of onboarding or when you engage with a certain app feature, hey, we're about to ask you for permission to do this thing. Here's this awesome feature or experience you can unlock. If you do it, then show them the prompts. And we've seen customers, our customers approach it like that and actually see meaningful lifts in opt-in. To the previous question, we see a lot of folks building preference centers where it's like, I know exactly what I want to get communication-wise or data collection-wise. I can easily flip stuff on and off. So I think if you don't get opt-in or you're not messaging your customers or whatever, you're kind of on one extreme. If you're just collecting tons of data and hitting them with messages all the time, you're on another extreme. That's going to get people to uninstall the app. How do you find that that happy middle ground? And I think the negative press that you mentioned, I think happens when there is a gap between consumers' perception of like what's being delivered to them or what data is being collected about them and what's actually happening. And I think what you've actually seen over the last couple of years is Apple and Google making it much harder to request permissions. They're saying, hey, we're going to forcibly close this gap. So I think now we're in a situation where you can't just collect data for the sake of collecting data or expecting it opt-in, but I do think you can educate consumers and ultimately help them understand, like, what am I opting into? What is the value for me? And how do I have max control over it?
I would agree, be very transparent and make this almost a transaction. It is an exchange. You exchange for this. It could be that you sign up and you opt into providing us your contact data and you can select the preferences for this and we have it and you get 500 points just for signing up. I've been very clear with what you get. Going back to the CDP, going back to the file vaults, going back to the regulations coming out, they may reject that in the future, right? So you also have to track the date they rejected it and acknowledge that you're no longer using it with affiliates and stuff. But it's about being very clear and transparent with the value they're going to get. They're exchanging this for value received, and they're not going to do it with everybody, right? Like they're not going to be data hoarders. They're going to say, I get something for this, and I know how much it's worth to you. So show me the money. I'm going to give it to you then.
So I'm going to cut it there. We're kind of at our time. You guys around for a little bit? Yes. There's questions. So we're going to go to our break now. So 15-minute break, grab some more coffee, snacks, use the bathroom, do what you got to do. And then we'll regroup here for, I'm going to do a very, very short presentation on ground level and some of the data that we're doing. And then we're going to hear from All of America and Wait Time, their case study. And then Carson will close it out with the best retail cases and how you can submit your case studies. So give it up for this amazingly intelligent and attractive panel.